You don't need me.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
this is Aletha, who was in our first class that we did out of Kona, actually, right? Was on Kauai with Kaylin and Aletha. Who else?
Yosh was in that class.
Yoshi Lahote, who's now on our board member from Kauai.
What more was there?
No.
No?
No, but Liz Ito and
Yeah.
her sister were there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a great. I still wear my sweatshirt that you gave me from Waipa, and I wore it in the airport in all over when I go on the mainland because it's cold on the planes, right? So I always got that on. And the guy said, "What you know about Waipa?" When we were in Las Vegas, right? And it turned he's from Maui, but he knew about Waipa, so
Nice.
small world, you know.
We were your favorite class, though, weren't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
You say that to everybody, don't you?
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, I don't want Jane to throw anything at me because that was a.
Oh, fine.
Yeah.
Are we ready?
Oh
Yes.
my God! Is Matt ready? Matt's ready. Okay, thank you.
All right. Wiggles, wiggles. We're going to catch up, I promise. My name is Aletha Thomas, and I'm the founder of Monkey Pod Jam. I'm a middle school teacher, so I will have some off-color jokes for you, and I will move things along swiftly. But we're going to get to it. So we need to have a secret code, Ken. So we need to. I know.
The only class where the teacher falls asleep, you know.
Yeah, will you push the little buttons for me?
Oh yes, I will push the little button.
Okay, so quick bio. I'm from a long line of home preservers. I'm originally from Portland, Oregon. I moved to Kauai 27 years ago for my very first teaching position out of school. I'm a middle school teacher. I am a bossy pants, and you will learn that in this little presentation. I'm the eldest of 4 girls and a middle school teacher, so that goes without. And I'm 50. I made 50 in September, and I guess when you turn 50, people expect that you know something about what you do. So that's why we have Sally O'Malley up there, because this is the year of 50. And so we'll go on to the next one. I grew up with a garage that was floor-to-ceiling home preserves. My mother's from northern Saskatchewan, so far up north that the road actually ends and you have to have a bush guide. My father's from Minnesota, so when you're from those areas, you actually do put up. My mother's family put up to get through the winter season. And so it's part of her DNA, and I'm sure she passed it on to her girls, that even though she lives in the city of Portland, she still has to preserve every year. So that's what the garage looks like. And then I embedded all this little presentation with pretty pictures because you've been having all these like stats and important things today, all the things you need to know to like build your home preservation or take it to the next level. And I'm the romantic part of it today. So I've done the journey that some of you either are on or you want to take, and we have to have some pretty things in there. So
if you were a true romantic, you would have bought samples.
I know. I only have 2 little jars. So that's our papaya vanilla jam. And we can
How do you get a safe pH out of papaya?
lemon juice.
Okay.
So yes.
So it's papaya lemon juice vanilla jam.
Yes. Lemon juice is in the ingredients, but not in the title. So we are Monkey Pod Jam. That's our logo. We were established in 2010 on Kauai. We can go on. That's my husband. And the reason I started Monkey Pod Jam and just chatting with the other preservers who have home businesses right now or cottage industry, none of us went into this thinking, I want to start a jam business. We started making jam because either we had too much of something, our lemon tree was going off, so we made marmalade, or there was a need, a financial need, and maybe I can earn an extra little bit of money for my family. Well, I was a middle school teacher during the last recession, and all of the teachers in Hawaii, if you remember correctly, were put on furlough. So we were given a cut in our salary and had a 4-day work week, and I was engaged to this very handsome IT man, and needed to figure out a way to supplement my income and help pay for the wedding. So I started making jam and jellies and taking it to the farmer's market in Lihue at the community college. I think we were one of the first value-added vendors at the markets, and it quickly paid for our wedding. And I was bitten by the entrepreneurial bug. I loved having control of my earnings, how hard I worked would produce or fruit into my what I brought home to my family. So that's where Monkey Pod started. It was not like, let's start a jam business.
Well, and I remember your original kitchen.
So that was our logo.
Big closet. So.
Pretty much. So Monkey Pod Jam, the name, something to think about. We'll come back to this really quickly. When you're starting, if you haven't started and you haven't named that little nugget that's in your head right now, think about it really hard. We sat down with a bottle of wine one night and we're like, well, let's think of a name for this little fundraiser. And we love the monkey pod tree. We live in Kaloa area and beautiful monkey pod trees in our area. So we're like, well, wouldn't that be romantic? What a nice thought. And so monkey pod, and we wanted it to look like a block print. Well, we're not just a jam company. We make lots of other things, and there's no monkey pod in any of our products. So you have to explain that over and over and over since 2010. So it does give you something to talk about, which is good, but it does get old. So when you're coming up with your name, broad. And at the beginning of the alphabet is better because then you're listed at the top. Okay. Orange marmalade. I love it. Okay, our company mission. You're gonna see this little blondie a lot throughout. We have a daughter, and she's adorable. She's our jam baby. And so our company mission was to support Kauai agriculture. Did I make? Oh no, I didn't misspell. Okay, I'm very much a purist, and so from the very beginning, our whole philosophy was to only use the produce that was growing on our particular island. We wanted to support Kauai farmers. And not everyone feels that's as important, and that's fine. But for us, I'm very stringent about that. And so support Kauai agriculture, develop delicious recipes, create shelf-stable, low-sugar preserves. So really quickly, before Mr. Love gets all twisted, it's low sugar, and we also don't add commercial pectin, but we're really big believers in having things tested at the lab department. We will talk about that more later. And Annika's Kauai grown, so the little t-shirt and everything else. Okay, so who is that? That's Wally. And Wally's our mango guy. He lives out in Mana. He has his pickup truck, the bed is filled with beautiful Raposa mangoes every year. And so he just backs that thing up to our little loading dock, and we take in the Raposas for about a 6-week period every week. They're 2/3 ripe. We ripen them. As soon as we're ready to cut into them, he's backing it up again. We're so excited that first week. By week 3, we are done. So that's Wally. And that's Annika out in the Sugarloaf pineapple field. And one of my favorites, the ohia. What we call ohia? No? Ohio. No. Ohio. It depends on why I did that. So the fern. And we pickle it. And that's just a pretty jam. Like I said, I'm gonna put them in. Okay, next. Okay, finding a kitchen. That was our first thing we needed to do. We felt really strongly about that. I wasn't, at the beginning in 2010, I wasn't super well versed in our whole cottage law industry. We call it differently in Hawaii, but I knew I shouldn't be cooking in my house. So just started pounding the pavement. And really my talk is gonna be about my journey through how I got going, and hopefully it's a little inspiring and you're gonna learn from my mistakes. I do give a lot of specifics out. I'm not afraid. So afterwards, if you have questions for me or during the Q&A, ask them. I'll answer any question you've got. So we needed to find a kitchen. And we got really lucky. I pounded the doors everywhere between Kalaheo to Wailua and ended up finding there was a defunct Dairy Queen kitchen in the middle of Lihui that has a used car lot in the front. A little old lady had the first food truck on the island, and Auntie Mary, and she let us come in for $300 a month. And so it was quite the kitchen at that time, a lot of grease, and there would be a little mouse running across the pipe as I was stirring my pot of jam, and I would haul everything in, and I'd haul everything out at the end, but it gave us our start. And at the end, Auntie Mary, the first year afterwards, she decided she was super tired and she wanted to retire, and we got the lease. So the place got a cleanup, and it got a paint job, and that's where we got our start. And that's all we need. And worked hard to get it, but we got it. So there's our dilly beans. We made a bunch of jam. Now what did we do with it? So I got really into it. We bought our first little chest freezer. We had fruit coming in. At the beginning, I thought I was buying so much fruit. It wasn't very much. I'm like, how do I off all this jam? Well, first we were at the farmers markets. That's the best place to start, because then you're seeing hundreds of people in a very small amount of time. You're sticking preserves in their mouth. If you get your jam in their mouth, they will buy it. And so that was the biggest thing. So that was our R&D and all of our marketing. It got our name out really quickly. Pop-ups, trade shows, mail order, and wholesale. Those are the main areas that we used to get our preserves out. So if we want to flip over, that was Waipaw Market on the North Shore. This is Williams-Sonoma. They used to do an artisan market once a quarter or so. And so I would fly out for the day and sell my jam at Williams-Sonoma and Alawana on Oahu. Anytime someone would invite me, I would say yes and have my jam out there. And then next would be, we did our first Maine Hawaii show. Someone told me the first 6 months we were in business at the market, oh, have you been to the Maine Hawaii show? And we're like, what's the Maine Hawaii show? Like, everybody goes to the Maine Hawaii show. So I had just had our daughter. She was about 3 months old when I left her for 4 days to do the Maine Hawaii show with my girlfriend. And that was rough. So the first slide was our first Maine Hawaii show. This was our third Maine Hawaii show. I had my act together by that point. My husband came with us. So that worked out really well. The first time, I was not prepared. I think I made about $15,000 worth of jam, and I brought home probably about $10,000 worth of jam. I was still feeding my daughter, so I was physically a hot mess. I had zero money because I had just started this, and I was spending all the money to get to Maine Hawaii show. Those of you who are from other islands other than Oahu, it's very expensive to do that show, but it is worth it. So if you get to that place where you want to expand and get exposure, that's the place to do it. It's one of the few shows or conventions you can go to where you get to sell your product. And it's really, I found it's not worth it to go to these things where you're just showing. The fancy food show, maybe, but I mean, you're not selling, you're schlepping it and you're sampling out, and you're giving it away. You really want to be able to sell it. That got us into quite a few magazines. We were the hot new item, and it worked out really well. We talked about wholesale, and you get to wholesale now. So it's wonderful if you want. Not wholesale, sorry, you get to ship. I'm a horrible shipper. I had to hire someone to help me because I would mix up all my boxes and send the wrong jam to the wrong household. So if you can't do it, find someone who can. It is a wonderful venue for your preserves or what you're making. You can get it to the mainland now, and people love a little bit of Hawaii. That's what got a lot of our customers through COVID, was being able to order 3 cases of our Lilikoi card. Wholesale is it's a way to get marketing out. You take a cut, but when you're starting a business, there's certain things you just feel like you have to do. One of them is I have to get in all the pretty shops, and so we wanted to get in the pretty shops, but you do take a cut for that. But we were super excited to get into Whole Foods. There's Annika, ready to go in the container. And a picture, we were in elephants in Portland, Oregon. So that was a lot of fun, being able to be in my hometown. And then education, Mr. Ken Love. I had started this business and was at the, I had started the business, was about maybe 2 years in, a year and a half in. Kalen had led us into the Waipaw Farmers Market. He was directing that. He was a big part of Waipaw at that time, and he let us come in, and he made us aware that that Ken Love was coming. I had no idea who Ken Love was at the time, but he was going to be conducting a Master Preserver's course. And being an educator, I felt it was really important to have some sort of piece of paper that showed that I knew what I was doing. Because at that time I was just reading as much as I could and learning as much as I could on the fly. So being able to commit, I think, was it a 6-week course? Twice a week, Fridays and Saturdays?
It was the 8-day original.
Yeah, 2 months.
No, two days a week.
Only 4? It felt like forever.
Because you had to drive from the other side of the island.
So yeah, I had to figure out my daughter's care, and then drive across the island and take the class, and then go back.
Unless the bridge was out.
Unless the bridge I think we made it though.
Yeah,
There was a
we
few
did that time.
iffies.
One time
It worked out. But it really, that gave me, I learned so very much from the Master Preserver course, and it gave me the confidence and just like the validation that I was on the right path. which was, I felt so important. There were things I wanted to tweak, definitely, while I was taking the course and learning. So just having that bit of education, I think, is so valuable to your next steps. If you can join cohorts or work with grants and that sort of thing, also, especially because we're in Hawaii, we're so isolated that it's hard to find your people sometimes. And sometimes the people you may not feel comfortable talking with if they're on your same island or in your same, like you feel like maybe you're stepping on toes. So if you can reach out to the other islands or even to the mainland, people who are doing similar things to you, that's so valuable as well. So we were part of the first Mana Up cohort, which was great. So if that's where you get to that level, I think if you get 3 to 5 years in, you can work with Mana Up. They're fabulous to work with, and you'll meet so many other small businesses like yourself that can help pull you along. I'm still close to all of the other 7 groups that were part of my cohort. Business plans, that sort of thing, writing a business plan and going through a business plan, either a competition or just a class, is super helpful, because then you're bouncing ideas off others as well. Like I said, that whole community thing is so important. So there we have Michael Chesky. He was one of the founders of Mana Up. We're still really close friends. We work together about once a quarter in Chinatown. There we have Miss Alice Waters. We were given we won 2 Good Food Awards, and she came and brought my the breadfruit, marinated breadfruit, and so that was like a highlight of my career, is Alice Waters giving me a hug. That was Good Food Awards, San Francisco. And if you get to the place, I know we have a number. Is it Akaka Falls? No, the Falls Preserve Company. They're at the farmers market in Hilo. They've won a number of Good Food Awards. There's another handful around the island, but you got a good food? Well done. For what pickle? We did the Ohio fern for a pickle that we won for, and then our marinated breadfruit. So that was a fun thing to get to bring to the mainland. Next thing is make lots of friends. I've talked about community a little bit and how important that community is. The health department should not be scary. You want to be friends with the health department. I've made a file, and they get irritated with me at times. Whenever like something goes through like testing or another certification, I like to beef it up, so I always just give them a copy. I'm like, put this in my file, please. And they're like, we don't need that for your file, Aletha. I'm like, stick it in there anyway. And so
those are all the containers you ship.
Oh yes, all the containers of jam. Business bankers. You don't know when you're going to need your business banker. So the moment you start getting out of, I'm just giving my Lilikoi curd to my friends and family, into I might be selling it, you want to start making friends with your banker. I used to plop on at Central Pacific Bank. We had this very scary looking business banker, Clyde, and I would go on Rice Street, and if I had made a deposit, I would go in his office and just get all my courage together and sit on his chair and remind him that we were going to be fast friends. And we were going to build a relationship because he's going to help me build my business. And when I grew out of Monkey Pod being at Dairy Queen into our new location, he's the one that found my new location. So 3 years later, that little friendship really, it came to help. And then fellow creators. So this is not Clyde. Clyde had moved on. But my favorite banker ever is Sherry. And we wouldn't have had our main location in Lauai without her. She believed in Monkey Pod, she believed in everything we did, and how hard we were working. She trusted us. This is us on Oahu with actually one of the main directors. I should know his name. He was the main director at the time on Oahu. But you want to make friends with your financial institution. There was a time when we had our second location. It's much harder than you think it will ever be. It's the scariest thing you'll ever do, and you'll take out your little loans and you feel like it's the biggest thing ever. And there was a time where I was bouncing. I remember being up at 2 a.m. I'm like, everything's hitting tonight and I don't have the money to cover this. And I started emailing and texting Sherry at home. I'm like, I'm bouncing, I'm so sorry, I'm bouncing. And then she wrote me back in the morning, she's like, oh, Aletha, you don't bounce, Monkey Pod doesn't bounce. And she made sure everything was covered for that 3-day period until my other money had come in. So relationships are everything, especially in the islands. Your co-creators, that's Gita Snyder. She's an amazing culinary person on the island of Kauai. slow food, and just being surrounded by people that are like-minded and supportive and that you can talk openly with is so important. And Gita's one of my ladies. And not just in the state. This is Rare Bird Preserve, not Rare Bird. This is the Preserve Company, the archipelago in Orcas Island. And I'll remember the name of it in a moment. But whenever I go to a place where I know one of my preservers, my favorite preservers are at, I always hop in. And being from the islands, especially from Kauai, you get to pretend you're very Pollyanna and just pop in and say, "Hi, I'm Aletha, I make jam," and talk and learn what they're doing and what's going on in their life, how things are trending, and just go with it. I'm from Hawaii Island. I make jam too. So it's worked out well. Year 1, we started out with 2,000 jars. And by year 10, we were making 15,000 jars, and that's not including what we did in the cafe. So we were very busy. We ended up being, if not the largest, one of the largest purchasers of fruits and vegetables on the island. And that's something I'm very proud of. And just being able to support those families. Get to know your farmers. I think I did something out of line. But the farmers are everything. When we started, one of my biggest hurdles was that farmers have been burned a number of times. So they'll plant things for they'll plant rows of something for someone, and then that manufacturer decides they're not going to make it, or they don't need it, or they don't need that much, or they can't pay that price. And so farmers get really weary when you show up all starry-eyed, like, how much can you grow me? And so I started a thing where I will buy everything you bring me. And there were times that I composted things, and we had goats for neighbors, and the goats ate very well because I couldn't physically produce everything that was coming under my carport. I'd get calls from my husband, and he would say, "Aletha, why are there 10 boxes of mountain apples underneath our carport?" And I'm like, well, I didn't know it'd be that many, but here we go. And so getting to know your farmers. This is Kauai Fresh Farm. We used to get all of our tomatoes from them. Another farmer. This is Hole in the Mountain Farm, one of my favorite farms up on the North Shore. They grow the sugarloaf pineapples. Our daughter's grown up there. When you're scaling up, you need to have a team, and you need to surround yourself with people that you really trust and that are there for you and have the same vision. More team, Miss Kiana, Ramadan, and you need to get a location eventually that fits your needs. So it's old, next to 7-Eleven in Lauai, between 7-Eleven and the post office. It was not the prettiest of buildings, but we did the best we could with it. And had a tasting room, a little cafe, we did coffee, and it had, most importantly, the reason we took the building was that it was turnkey and it had 2 walk-ins, a freezer and a refrigerator. So then we had more buying power. So all those mangoes that Wally brought us for 6 weeks, we could process them, stick them in the freezer, and make them as we could. So, and lastly, you need to set yourself apart. There's a lot of preservers here, but there's enough room for everybody here in the islands. But you want to really take really serious consideration, I feel. Monkey Pod, we're really proud of that label. And I've really slowed down on my production. After making years and years of jam, my hands get sore, and I was really tired at the pandemic time. And so having, a team of up to 12 to 14 was really, I decided that was not for me. And so, but now, years later, I still have, this is after the pandemic, 5 years, I still get emails every day. And people are like, "We're coming to the island. How do we get your preserves?" Or, "I'm having a baby shower. Can I get this?" Or, "What do you have in stock?" And so I do keep a small stock, but having a really memorable logo and taking the time at the beginning to think of that name and what your logo is going to look like. When we started, when we were developing our logo, a food professional happened to come by my kitchen. He's like, "Why is your logo so plain? People eat with their eyes, you need to have color." I was like, "Well, I don't really like that." And so I kept it, and it's worked for us. So you have to go with what makes your heart sing, but you want it to look clean and professional and not like you just took a label out of your mailing label and stuck it on. So, because that's your calling card. Okay, we go. I'm not done yet, Ken. I don't know, something with words. We'll go back. Oh no, we're going deeper.
That's because you did it on PDF instead of PowerPoint. This one?
No. One more. Okay, your website presence. You get to have a website now. You get to sell on a website. That's a really big gift. Most states don't get to do that. And so with that, you want to take it seriously, and it shouldn't just be like thrown up there, something halfway done, and make it, the user interface is super important, because Ken's going to be on there, and he's going to be clicking all over the place. Pop-ups, your pop-up displays, put them together. Take some time. Put a little bit of investment at the end, and make it so it doesn't like break. And that's why we had these great little cake stands that were made of wire. They lasted me over 10 years. And I actually gave them away to a friend and was at her place doing we were doing an event together, and I was like, oh, I forgot that you have my cake stands, and she's still using them. Your recipes, like KTA, KT.
Yeah, KTA.
Yeah, you know, everybody makes a guava. If you make a really good guava, people will notice. But if you can make something a little bit of a riff on that, that's even better. And then keep relevant. You want to keep doing what works really well and make a name for yourself, but you also need to pay attention to what the trends are and how the world is changing, because the world right now is so much different than it was in 2010. And so if I was to make my business now, I would not have done it I would not be doing it the same way. So
What would you be doing instead?
what would I be doing instead? Yeah, my big mouth.
Teaching high school and middle school.
I wouldn't have chased like so many, like I wouldn't have been doing things for free for the hopes of marketing. Like you at the beginning, everyone's like, if you bring a table and give away jam or just sample it for 8 hours, it's gonna give you so much exposure. It doesn't give you exposure. And so you really value yourself, and even at the beginning when you're just a baby and you don't know much, you still know something. And so that's worth something. So just giving, I'm not one that gives everything away anymore. And I wouldn't do that again, even as a startup.
That's why we only got 2 jars instead of 1 for everybody.
Heck yeah, no. It's because I don't have very much anymore. Yes.
I just want to tag on to that and say I know a lot of artists, and what they tell me is people die from exposure.
Yep. Definitely. And you get all those Instagrammers and whatnot, and they're like, oh, give me product and maybe I'll talk about it. No. No. I'm too old for that now. So I guess, yeah, that might be part of it. And I think if I think of more between now and the end of class, I would definitely bring that up. So, okay. There's a kid again. So marketing, take some good pictures. It's all about the pictures. Find some other cute baby and get pictures with them. I mean, people, she's an 8th grader now. She won't do it. But they're all eating jam. They're all happy. They're all different demographics. They're all different ages. They're all different chubbinesses. And they're all loving my jam. And so and Kiana's just lovely. The logo is super important. And it may be too plain for some of you, or just basic, but I love my little logo. It's my first baby.
Kiss. Yeah, I love Myra Lemon Curd.
Thank you.
I'm getting hungry just thinking.
Just how you're gonna set up. Honestly, like my hands are so sore from making all those jam jars. That's one of the reasons I'm not doing it anymore. And I never got to that place where they were talking about with Maui, where you're either co-packing or you're having a big operation. I liked that I was boutique, and I wanted to keep it that way. And your body pays a price for that. It's just the way it is. And the more people you have in your kitchen, the less control you have. And so that's one of the reasons I'm not making so much now. I'm tired. But I love to chat with you and teach others. Your website presence, I'm a big advocate for Shopify. It costs a little bit more than others, but they have it so dialed in, especially if you're going to start shipping. You want Shopify. And they have great templates for you. This is, again, how you present yourself, not on cardboard boxes. You'll look in the back of the house, and our jam makers in the back, you'll see varying levels of height. You'll see boxes that you can't tell are boxes because cloth is draped over top. You'll see beautiful woven baskets. They've taken time, they take pride, they take ownership, and it makes me really proud for them of their products. When they go to a table at a market and they're just kind of strewn out and haphazardly, or just like masses with no thought, it's not appealing to my eyes. So, again, and Pretty Roselle. Making things that are unique. This is Kokee grown rhubarb from our mountains up on Kauai. And so every once in a while I get a little stash of that and get to make some rhubarb jam. It's one of my favorites. But being innovative and always having your eyes open, being curious, part of being a creator is just always being curious about life and about what you see and the beauty in that. And the marinated ulu, always a favorite. A lot of the best recipes that we made were off of farmers that were frantic. And it was because there was a need. And so a lot of, so this was our sauerkraut. And there were a couple seasons where the farmers program, the farming program at our community college, they were growing their cabbages and they had a lot, they couldn't off them. And so we would buy them, and it would be like hundreds and hundreds of pounds of cabbage. And so my entire team was massaging cabbage and then letting the cabbage do its thing. So that sort of thing. So that's one of them. Our sauerkraut came from that, and all support of our farmers. And our new farmers, you don't want those new farmers to feel sadness. They're already having to deal with the little worms and the grubs eating their things. So what's our next one? Oh, the green tomatoes. So at the beginning, I showed you a picture of, it was me outside the Kauai Fresh Farms. And they were the big tomato grower pre-pandemic. And we used to buy all their ripe tomatoes that were like the one-offs. And if they just had too many, they would contact me. We had a great spiced tomato jam. That was my favorite preserve that we made on the regular. But then one day when Marquita came in to deliver her tomatoes, she was talking about how they were cleaning out one of the greenhouses. I'm like, well, are there still tomatoes on some of your vines? She's like, oh my goodness, Aletha, we compost so many green tomatoes. I was like, really? I'm like, well, why don't you bring them to me? Just bring me some and I'll figure it out and I'll buy them from you. And so we started with the little guys. We started doing pickled green tomatoes. And then on the next slide, with the big guys, we made piccalilli. And these are like two things I had never made before. And I had never heard of piccalilli. It's a southern thing. It's a relish. And so that ended up being one of our top sellers, was the piccalilli. And it came off, they were throwing away thousands of dollars every year in the compost. And then we were able to help offset that because we figured it out. And you get the joy of doing that, figuring it out with your farmers. And then at the end, staying relevant. Part of being relevant was how working with our farmers and figuring out what their needs were, like with the piccalilli and such. Now it's also, I've definitely gone back to my roots. When we ended up, I didn't talk about, we opened that little store in Lawai, our second location with the walk-ins. It was a huge space and our lease was really expensive. And like I said, remember those nights of not sure how life was gonna go pan out. There were times if I was a little bit worried about payroll not working, I would do a cooking class. And so, because I could feel that because there had been interest in our cooking and what we're doing. And so I would put it out to the community. And I could make money real fast in one night. And that covered payroll. And so the girls knew after a while, after about 6 months, if I was holding a cooking class, I wasn't making it. And they're like, how can we help? And so it worked out really well that way. But because of those cooking classes, our ladies from our community would come back in so proud of themselves because they would start, these are jams and jellies they had made in their house. And I'm not a master food preserver instructor, but with my education background and with Ken's experience, in my class with him and then my experience on my own, I'm very confident sharing my skills with home preservers. And look how cute they are. They're so proud and they're so happy. And so it really makes my day to see that. So really that's how my business has really snaked. Remember, I wasn't going to be a master food preserver, or I wasn't going to be a preserver of any sort. And that whole thing has shifted into now I mainly teach cooking classes. And so we're cooking Kauai, and we still have Monkey Pod Jam, but it's on a very small basis. And I teach a lot of preserving classes throughout the, like maybe twice a month I'll do a preserving class of some sort. We just had a natural ferment class last week. And that brings a lot of joy, and it's kind of I've been able to still use my skills that I have as a master preserver and share them with my community. And then we also teach classes to our visitors, and so it's worked out really well. And we don't know, you might be right now like all on fire, like I've got a farm, or I know where I would like to be with my preserving, and it changes, and that's okay too. But the skills you're building right now and the seriousness that you take it, and that you really accept it and you go with it, will take you all sorts of weird places. 'Cause I'm teaching cooking classes in my backyard in our ohana, and who would have ever thought that would happen? And so it's worked out really well. And lastly, this is one of my favorite classes I've taught right after the pandemic, or when the pandemic was when we were opening up a little bit here on the island of Kauai. It was plum season up in Kokee. And we have these beautiful plum trees. Do you know what Friday they are, Kaylin?
Oh, no, they're not very big.
They're just little guys.
Dams?
Are they damson?
I think so.
And so we have loads, we have a lot. And I lived here, like I said, 27 years, and this happened in 2021. And I had never timed it just right for plum season. And the way it works, pardon? Methley plums. And so what happens is, I think it's Father's Day weekend, usually they open it up somewhere around there, and the community, everyone, you can go up and pick plums. You're supposed to do a 6-pound limit, and it's for personal use, not commercial use. And so we had a class, and I have a girlfriend who has a cabin up there, and it was still a time when we wanted to be out in the open. And so we met up at Kokee, we all picked our 6 pounds of plums, and we went to the cabin to her lanai, and we made plum jam, we did plums in simple syrup, and we did plums one other way, I don't remember. But it was just a beautiful day up in pardon?
Plum wine.
That would have been awesome. But it was kind of a welcome back to life for Monkey Paw Jam and Cooking Kauai, and a direction we could go, and using the gifts that God gave us on the mountain, and then also the gifts God I felt gave me as a teacher, and being able to share them with my community in such a beautiful fashion. So I'm very excited for all of you, and I can't wait to see all the beautiful things that you're going to do with your preserves and the places you're going to go. That's all I've got.
Great.
Oh, thank you so much for making the flight over.